Hello guys, so once again my name is Vincent Umona and this is our fourth video in the C# course. So in this video we'll be talking about conditionals according to our curriculum. So we're going from variables to conditionals, and this is the first part of the conditionals video. And before we even talk about conditionals, right, I would like us to really understand, before we go into coding, I would like us to understand what conditionals are and the role they play in software development. Now, conditionals are one of those things that are at the root of software engineering. You need to understand it to write good programs. And when we talk about conditionals, it's just a big name, right? What we're really talking about is making decisions. So we're really just making decisions. A typical example, let's take an app. All applications use conditionals. I don't think it's possible to write an entire application that is going to do something substantial that doesn't use conditionals. So let's use example the Google Maps app. So I use Google Maps a lot because I tend to travel a lot, and because I don't go out, I don't know a lot of places. So I usually have to navigate with Google Maps. So when you pick up Google Maps and you say, hey, show me a route from here to here, there are actually a lot of routes that you could go through, but Google Maps gives you the optimal one, so the best one. And how does it do that? It has a set of conditions that it checks. And then when it checks those conditions, it makes a decision and says, based on where you are, what is the best route for you to go from here to there? Now, these conditions might be, is the road good? Are you walking? Are you driving? So if you're driving, how best should you get here? If you're walking, there might be a shortcut that I can take on foot, and then it's going to say take here. If there's hold up or if there's traffic, it can say, okay, there's traffic on this road, take this other road. Now, this is your program making decisions. And at the end of the day, that really is what conditionals are. It's not a big deal. It's very easy to master. You just need to know where to use conditionals in your program. So that really is it with conditionals. And how do we represent them in our programs? We represent them using things called if and else. So for example, to represent a condition, you can say, if this is true, do this. If it is not true, do this other thing. And then that brings me to my screen. If you notice on the screen, I have something that says a comment, which says it's up to you. And what that statement is saying, if you want equals to, you can, else you can't. So if you really want to do something, then you can do it. Or if you don't want to do it, then you can't do it. It's like you're learning to code now. If you really want to learn to code, you're going to put in the time and the effort to watch the videos and do the tutorials and make sure you're following and you're doing your tasks. And so if you really want it, that's going to motivate you, and you realize that, oh, I can actually do this, and I'm doing that. But if you don't want it, then it's just much harder to do. It's how in the days where you don't feel like doing things, that usually much harder for you to do them. It happens to me too. So with that said, I hope we kind of have a general understanding of what conditional statements are, or what conditionals are. We're really just making decisions. There's no big deal. And we're just going to jump to the code now. So we're going to make a series of small applications. I think the first one we should make is to decide if someone can drink at a bar. So someone walks into a bar, we want to find out if we should give them beer or not. Maybe we're writing a program that is using an automated drink serving machine, and we just need to know if this person should be allowed to take an alcoholic wine or an alcoholic drink or not. And we're just going to switch over to code very quickly, and we're going to write that simple program. So switching to code. Of course, the first thing we will do, as always, is I am going to open my terminal. I want you guys to really get used to working in terminal, because as a software engineer, you're going to spend a lot of time typing in commands. And I am seeing a lot of questions on the C# class, and I implore you guys to really follow the videos carefully. I see a lot of errors that can be avoided if you're following exactly what I'm doing. So it's important that you pay attention while you're watching these videos. Pause the video, try to do what I'm doing. If you're getting it wrong, go back and check how your code differs from mine. Because at the end of the day, if what I'm doing is working and your own code isn't working, then there's a very big chance that the problem is from your own code. So just make sure it's one-to-one with what I am doing. So as usual, we're going to create a new project, and I'm sure some of you will know that the way to create a new project now is to say .NET new console-n. This is another one I see a lot. Make sure there's a space between -n and the name of your project. .NET new console-n-n. I'll call this project conditionals, right? And I'll hit enter, and it's creating a conditionals project for me. And then we're just going to let this run for a bit. Okay, this is taking a while. Hello, are you there? Okay, look good, it's done. I was starting to worry a bit. So we're just going to check if the project was created as usual. If you're on a Mac or Linux, you use ls. If you're on a Windows, you use dir. So I'm on Linux, so I'm going to say ls and hit enter. And I can see that my conditionals folder was created. Now what do? I navigate to the folder with cd conditionals, I hit enter, and then I say code dots. Now, if you're on a Mac and this is not working for you, iChat, one of the learners, has made a video for us. So she posted that video on the channel. Thank you, Aisha, for making that video. So if you're on a Mac and that is not working for you, just watch that video and fix it. So we say code dots, and I'm going to hit enter to open it in Visual Studio Code. Okay, so I'm seeing this page because I just updated my Visual Studio Code. You might not see it, so you can just close this, close the welcome page, and go straight to program.cs. Now, I don't see my terminal here. To bring up my terminal, like I said, I just hold Ctrl and backtick, and my terminal is going to show. I'm going to take out this line of code here, and so what do we want to do? We want to, so we're assuming that someone came to our bar, right? So I'm going to say console, everyone should be used to this now, console.writeLine. Welcome to Vincent's bar. How old are you? So welcome to Vincent's bar. How old are you? Now, if you remember, because I want my prompts to be on the same line when I ask this question, I'm going to use console.write instead of console.writeLine. And then I'm going to create a variable up here to store the user's response. So I'm going to say int age equals 0. So I'm going to assume that the age for anyone that comes into my bar is 0 until they tell me how old they are. But you know what, it doesn't make sense for me to assume that their age is 0. From the moment you're born, everyone has an age. Or you know what, let's leave it at 0. So console.write, welcome to Vincent's bar, how old are you? And then I come down here and say age equals console.readline. And now I'm saying take the response of the user and put it inside age. Well, remember, if you watch the videos correctly, you'll remember why we have an error here. It's because this is returning a string, and we can't save a string in an int variable, so we have to convert it. And then so I designed this curriculum so things build on each other. So you see what we learned from the variables class, we're using it in our conditionals class now. So we say int dot pass console.readline, and now I won't have an error because then I can take whatever age the person entered and save it inside of age. And now I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say if. So this is new to you. This is me trying to make a decision. I want to decide if I should sell beer to this person or I should tell this person to leave my bar. Now I'm going to assume that in my bar we sell only alcohol. So if you can't take alcohol in our bar, then you should leave. There's no point having you around. So I'm going to say if age. And then if you remember your greater than and less than signs, we're going to be using them here. So I'm going to say if age is less, now let's say if age is greater than 18. So if the person is older than 18, we're going to say console dot write line, you are old enough to drink here. So if the person, so we're saying if age is greater than 18, we're assuming that the legal drinking age is 18. So now we're saying if this person is greater than 18, if your age is greater than 18, then we're going to say you're old enough to drink here. Then the second part of the statement is the else part. Else, so this part of the code is going to execute if the person is less than 18. So else, we're going to say console.writeLine, you're too young to drink, please leave. So here we're saying if this person is greater than 18, then we know that this person is old enough to drink. So we're going to tell them they're old enough to drink and probably ask them what they want to drink. If they're not, this part of the code is going to execute and just tell them that, look, you're too young to drink, can you leave? Now to just test this out very quickly, I'm going to run this by saying .NET run. Now hit enter. And then it's asking me, welcome to Vincent's bar. Oh, I made a mistake with the spelling of Vincent's bar there. Well, it's not a big deal. You can correct it 22 years. So how old are you? I'm going to say I am 10. And then it tells me, oh, you're too good to drink. Please leave. I'm going to run this project again. And that makes sense because age was 10 and it wasn't greater than 18. And then we made that decision and then we displayed this. I'm going to run it again. And this time, I'm going to say that my age is 50. So let's say I'm a 50-year-old man, and I'm going to hit enter. And it tells me, you're old enough to drink here. That makes sense, right? That is the same thing. And this might look really simple, but this is really the kind of logic. So if we had an automated drink serving machine at a bar that asks people their age before it, this is really the kind of decision they will be using in it. It doesn't have to be more complex than this. It can be this simple. So this could be functioning code in a program at a bar. Now, we have a problem in this project, and I will show you what the problem is. Let us run this again. And this time, I'm going to say my age is 18. Watch what happens. I'm telling it that I'm 18, but it is telling me that I'm too young to drink, that I should leave. But the legal drinking age is 18. So this is an example of something called a bug. We have a bug in our system. Now, We are only checking if the person is greater than 18. We are not checking if the person is exactly 18. So if we have an 18-year-old, 18 is definitely if the person is 18 years old, we're going to deny them drink, but that is not the case. So what we want to do here is saying, instead of denying everybody that is below 18, we're going to add an equal sign. What we're then saying now is, if age is equal to or greater than 18, we're saying if anyone that is either 18 or older than 18 comes, we should allow that person to have some drink. So what we're changing now, we're changing it from greater than 18. So before, we're only going to allow people from 19 up. Now we're saying if they're 18 or they're older than 18, that is what this symbol means. This symbol means greater than or equals to 18, allow them drink. If not, don't allow them. I'm going to save this. So file, save, and I'm going to run it again. And then welcome to Vincent's Bar. How old are you? I keep forgetting to change this. And this time I'm going to say I'm 18 again. And now you see the difference. It's saying I am old enough to drink here because I corrected that. And that really is it with conditionals really. Now we can add, what if we need to check for multiple conditions? For example, if someone that is less than 10-year-old comes to a bar, we don't tell them to leave. We need to contact their parents. Let's imagine someone that is 10 years old comes to a bar at 10 p.m. We just can't tell them to leave. We'll have to find out, okay, how did you get here or something. So let us make our code a bit more complex. I'm going to put a space here and I'm going to say else if. Now I want to check for a specific case. I want to check if this child is younger than 11 years old. So yeah, let's just assume that 11-year-old is the age where anyone can go out on their own without supervision. So I'm going to say if age is less than, this time I'm using the less than symbol, if age is less than 11, then we want to say, we don't want to tell them to leave. We want to say console.writeLine. Let's tell them they're too young to drink here. You're too young to drink here. We will contact your parents to come take you. So what is happening here? What we're doing here then is that we're saying, okay, someone comes into the bar and tells us their age. We first of all check, are they over 18? If they're over 18 or they're 18, we tell them they can drink. Our next check is, are they less than 11? So 10 down. If they are 10 years old or lower, then they cannot drink here. And we can't just tell them to leave because it's dangerous for a 10-year-old to walk out of a bar on their own. So we have to contact their parents. So notice that we have something called an else if here. So we can add several else ifs to our program to check different things. So the example of the Google Maps I gave you, a program like that will have a lot of else ifs to check, okay, traffic is good here, or so what other things do I need to check? Do I need to check if I am walking? So it's going to check if traffic is good, else if this, else if that, and all of that. And that is what we're doing here. We're saying if this person is less than 10, do this, and then do this for all other ages that are not in these categories. Let's just save this. I'm going to save this and I'm going to say .NET 1. This time, let's say my age has changed again. I seem to be a time traveler. So I'm going to say my age is 8 years old now. And it says, you're too young to drink here. We will contact your parents to come take you. And guys, that's really it with conditionals, right? I mean, in this example, we're using I'm using a very basic example here to just drive home the idea of conditionals, but at the end of the day, this is most of what they are about. Conditionals can get pretty complex. You can have very complex conditions, but if you understand the basics, it's let me quickly change this. It's starting to bother me. So conditionals can get pretty complex, but once you understand the basics, it really isn't so much that you can't deal with it. Now, in another video, we're going to drill deeper into conditionals. We're going to use more complex examples. We're going to look at how we can mix conditionals together. And before I continue, I'll just like to mention what's happening here. So, in this piece of code, what actually happens here is the expression here has to evaluate to true for it to run this block of code. So anywhere you have an if, the expression contains there must evaluate to something called a true. And this brings me back to the example I used before. It says if you want equals true. Now, if someone enters an age of 18 and this check happens here that says is age equal to or greater than 18, that is true. So what it is looking, anything you put here must evaluate to true for whatever is wrong, for whatever here to run. If you have an else if, anything here must evaluate to true for whatever is here to run. And then if this evaluates to false and this evaluates to false, then this will run. This is our last condition. So if everything here is false, this is going to run, and that really is it with conditionals. I hope you guys get it. Try my best to understand it as simply as I can. You guys can feel free to post messages on Slack, and if you don't understand it, I'll try to explain it better. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm really proud of you all for being part of the C# class. Looking to learn more. Have a great day, you guys.